The UK footwear market is worth over £12 billion a year. But those boots in the shop window, the ones with the British flag on the box and the heritage story on the tag, most of them are held together with glue, made thousands of miles from the country they claim to represent, and built to fall apart inside 12 months. Today, we are naming 10 brands to avoid, and 5 you can actually trust. Number 10. Primark sits at the bottom because nobody is pretending otherwise. A pair of shoes for £8 to £15. The soles are cemented. The uppers are synthetic. The stitching you see around the edge is decorative. It is not structural. It is glued on to make the shoe look like it was sewn together. It was not. The materials compress within weeks. The sole separates within months. And because there is no welt, no stitching holding the sole to the upper, no cobbler on earth can repair it. When the glue gives out, and it will, the shoe goes straight to landfill. That is by design, not a defect, a business model. The environmental cost of selling shoes this cheaply is staggering. The UK sends an estimated 300 million pairs of shoes to landfill every single year. Brands at this price point are not competing on quality. They are competing on disposability, and the consumer pays twice, once at the till and once when the replacement lands in the trolley 8 weeks later. Number 9. ASOS own brand footwear sits one shelf above that in the pricing hierarchy, and barely one step above it in construction. The Chelsea boots, the Brogues, the Desert boots, they all photograph well. That is the product. The photograph. The boot itself is a different matter. Bonded leather is the term you will find in the description. That is not leather in any meaningful sense. It is leather dust and fibers ground up, mixed with polyurethane, and pressed into sheets. It creases poorly, cracks quickly, and peels within months of regular wear. The soles are cemented throughout the range. No Goodyear welt, no Blake stitch, no path to repair. At £40 to £60, the price is high enough to create an expectation of quality, but low enough to confirm that no quality was intended. These are fashion items with the lifespan of a trend cycle. When the season changes, the shoe will already be falling apart, and the next collection is ready to take its place. Number 8. Dune positions itself as the step up. The window displays are polished. The packaging is considered. The price, £80 to £150 for a pair of men's shoes, suggests something meaningfully different from the high street tiers below it. It is not. The construction is cemented. The leather on the majority of their range is corrected grain, meaning the natural surface has been sanded away and replaced with an artificial coating. It looks clean under shop lighting. It does not age. It deteriorates. Scuffs do not develop character. They expose the cheap split underneath. Pull the insole up on a pair and look at the bottom. You will not find a row of stitches holding the sole to the upper. You will find glue. At this price, that is not value. That is the gap between the experience of buying the shoe and the experience of wearing it 6 months later. The buying experience is where the budget went, not the shoe. Number 7. Kurt Geiger is in a similar position, except the prices push even higher. £100 to £250, sometimes more for boots. The brand leans hard into fashion-forward styling, metallic finishes, statement hardware. None of that tells you anything about what is underneath. The construction is overwhelmingly cemented. The leathers are heavily treated and coated. Independent reviews describe soles coming away from the upper within 3 to 5 months. Heel tips wearing through in weeks on city pavement. One reviewer described paying over £200 for boots that lasted less time than a pair they had bought for a third of the price at a high street chain. When you are paying at this level, you are past the point where glued construction is an acceptable shortcut. You are in the territory where stitched soles, full-grain leather, and a resiliable build should be standard. Instead, you are getting a fashion premium applied to a budget construction. The styling is the product. The shoe is just what it comes attached to. Number 6. Ted Baker carried genuine goodwill for years. The quirky British branding, the premium high street positioning, the sense that you were choosing something a cut above the usual fare. Then the brand went into administration in March 2024. The European operations collapsed. Stores across the UK closed. Birmingham, Bristol, Cambridge, Exeter, Leeds, Liverpool, Nottingham, Oxford, gone. The brand was acquired by Authentic Brands Group in 2022 for around £211 million and converted to a licensing model. That means the shoes bearing the name today are not made by the company that built the reputation. They are manufactured by third-party licensees under a borrowed brand. A licensing model is not inherently wrong, but it changes the incentive structure entirely. The licensee's job is to hit a margin. The brand name does the selling, and the customer is buying a memory of what the name used to mean, not what the product currently is. When a brand has been through administration, been stripped of its stores, and relaunched as a licensed operation in under 2 years, the question you need to ask is simple. Who is actually making this shoe, and what standards are they building to? If the answer is not on the box, that silence is the answer. Number 5. Jones Bootmaker has over 150 years of heritage behind its name. Walk into one of their shops and the dark wood, the leather chairs, the presentation all suggest a traditional British shoe retailer with craft at its center. Most of what is on the shelves is imported. That is not necessarily a problem on its own. Where it becomes a problem is when the price suggests a level of construction the product does not deliver. The majority of the range is cemented. The leathers are mixed, some genuine, some bonded, some coated. At 80 to 160 pounds, the brand competes directly with price points where Goodyear welted, resolable shoes exist. It chooses not to offer them. Consumer reviews tell a consistent story. Shoes that look excellent on day one and begin to come apart at the seams within 6 to 8 months. Soles detaching, leather cracking, stitching that turns out to be decorative, not functional. The heritage is in the name. It is no longer in the shoe. Number 4. Clarks is the one most people will feel personally. Your parents bought you Clarks. Your school shoes were Clarks. For generations, the name meant something solid and reliable about British manufacturing. That company is largely gone. The last UK factory, a high-tech facility in Street, Somerset, that opened in 2017 with the capacity to produce 300,000 pairs a year, was closed in 2019, just 2 years after it opened. The brand now manufactures entirely in the Far East. Revenue dropped from £994 million in 2023 to £901 million in 2024, a decline of nearly £100 million in a single year. They posted a pre-tax loss of $39 million and cut more than 1,200 jobs. The product has changed alongside the business. Customers who remember Clarks as a buy-it-for-life brand now describe shoes that wear through at the heel in months, soles that separate, leather that creases and cracks in ways that older pairs never did. The shift to lower-cost materials, inconsistent supplier standards, and accelerated production processes has been documented by multiple independent sources. The name on the box is still the same. What is inside it is not. If your loyalty to this brand is based on what it used to be, it is time to look at what it actually is now. Number 3. Russell & Bromley is the premium trap on this list. 200 to 400 pounds a pair. Shop fronts on the best streets in London, Manchester, Edinburgh. Everything about the experience tells you this is a serious shoe retailer selling serious shoes. Then you look at the construction. The majority of the men's range is cemented. At 350 pounds, you can find shoes in this shop where the sole is glued on and cannot be replaced. The leather is often treated with thick synthetic coatings that prevent it from aging gracefully. When it scuffs, it does not patina. It flakes. The display is doing an enormous amount of work. The lighting, the layout, the postcode of the shop itself. All of that is baked into the price. The shoe, as a piece of engineering, does not justify its position. For the same money, or often less, you can buy a fully Goodyear welted Benchmade shoe from a Northampton factory, where a craftsman handled every stage of construction. That shoe will last a decade and can be resoled 5 or 6 times. The one in this shop window will last until the glue decides it is done. Number 2. This is the one that cuts deepest because this brand is not just a product. It is an identity. Dr. Martens boots have been part of British culture since 1960. Punk, skinhead, grunge, goth, indie. The 1460 is not just a boot, it is a statement, and for decades, that statement came with genuine substance behind it. Those boots were made in Northamptonshire. They were Goodyear welted. They lasted years. People went a decade without needing a replacement, and when they finally did, the brand offered a lifetime warranty. That warranty was quietly discontinued before 2018. The manufacturing was moved to Asia following a private equity deal. Today, 98% of all Dr. Martens inventory is produced overseas. The remaining 2%, the Made in England line, is still made at a small facility in Wollaston. The standard 1,460 from the Asian production line retails for around £120. The Made in England version costs $220. The difference is not just price. It is construction quality, leather thickness, finishing, and longevity. Consumer reviews for the standard line tell the same story across thousands of entries. Soles detaching, leather cracking after minimal use, stitching that comes undone within months. The phrase that appears most often is that the quality is not what it used to be. The company went public in 2021. Revenue hit over £1 billion. But the product that built the brand has been fundamentally changed, and the people who built their identity around it are the ones who noticed first. You can still buy a genuine British-made boot from the exact same factory that used to make Dr. Martens. It is not called Dr. Martens anymore. We will get to that shortly. Number 1. The worst offender on this list is not a single brand. It is a system. Walk into any department store in the UK, John Lewis, Selfridges, the shoe section of any major retailer, and look at the wall of men's shoes priced between £100 and £350. Different names, different boxes, different stories on the labels. The construction underneath is almost always the same. Cemented soles, corrected grain leather, synthetic linings, glued heels, decorative stitching designed to imply a welt that does not exist. The only meaningful difference between the £100 shoe and the £300 shoe on that wall is the name stamped inside and the marketing budget behind it. The same factories in Asia produce shoes for multiple brands at virtually identical specifications. The variation is cosmetic. The structure is shared. The UK footwear market is projected to exceed £12 billion in 2026. A significant portion of that goes towards shoes built to be replaced, not repaired. The department store shoe wall is not a curated selection of quality footwear. It is a replacement cycle, dressed in warm lighting and polished displays. Before we get to the brands worth your money, you need to understand one thing that will protect you every time you buy a shoe. Every shoe sold in the UK is built using one of 3 construction methods. The first is cemented. The sole is glued on. Takes seconds in a factory. Brands disguise this with decorative stitching around the edge to make it look like the sole is sewn. It is not. When the glue fails, the shoe is finished. Cannot be resoled. Cannot be repaired. Goes in the bin. Every brand on the avoid list uses this method for the majority of their range. The second is Blake stitching. The upper, insole, and outsole are sewn together in a single pass. A cobbler can resole it once or twice. Better than glue. Not the best. The third is the Goodyear welt. A strip of leather is stitched to both the upper and the insole, creating a sealed channel filled with cork that molds to your foot over time. The outsole is then stitched to the welt. A cobbler can resole it 5, 6, 7 times without touching the upper. A shoe built this way, bought once, can be on your feet for 20 years. That one piece of knowledge changes everything about how you shop. Now here is where to spend your money. Number 5. Loke, specifically the 1880 range. This distinction matters because Loke operates multiple lines and not all of them are equal. The 1880 collection is Goodyear welted and made at their factory on Wood Street in Kettering, Northamptonshire, the same site where the Loke brothers started production in 1880. Each pair goes through over 200 separate operations. Full grain leather uppers, leather soles stained by hand, burnished by hand, heels reinforced with nails. The cheaper L1 range is Goodyear welted but made in India. It is clearly stamped as such, which to Loke's credit is more transparency than most brands offer. But the difference in finish, leather quality, and long-term durability between the two lines is real. At around £200 for the 1880 range, you are getting a bench-made English shoe that will last years and can be resoled multiple times. For the price of one pair of glued department store shoes, you are buying something that a cobbler can keep alive for a decade. Just make sure the box says 1880. That is the line you want. Number 4. Grenson has been making shoes in Northamptonshire since 1866. They were the first English shoemaker to use the Goodyear welt, and their factory production still operates out of Rushton today. Their mainline models, the Brogues, the Derbies, the boots that carry their name most visibly, are bench-made in England using full-grain leather and triple-stitched welted construction. They sit at around 250 to 350 pounds, which is significant. But the price reflects where the money went. Not into a marketing campaign, not into a shop fit out on Bond Street, into the shoe itself. Their factory in Rushton operates alongside modern designs and fashion collaborations, which means you need to check whether the specific model you are buying is from the English-made line. Some models are produced overseas. If it says made in England on the sole, you are getting the real thing. If it does not, ask why. Number 3. Trickers has been operating from the same factory on St. Michael's Road in Northampton since 1829. That is not a marketing claim. That is 5 generations of the Barltrop family making shoes in the same building. Every shoe is produced through a 260-step process entirely on site. Goodyear welted, full-grain leather, hand-finished. They produce around 1,400 pairs a week, which in an age of factory automation is deliberately small. The Stowe boot and the Bourton brogue are the models most people will recognize. Both are built to last years, and both can be resold by any competent cobbler multiple times over. At around 300 to 400 pounds, these are not casual purchases. But the maths works the same way it always does. One pair of these, resold twice over 15 years at 70 to 90 pounds each time, will cost less than 3 pairs of cemented shoes at 150. And one pair goes to landfill instead of 3. Number 2. Solovair is the answer to the question every frustrated Dr. Martens customer has been asking for the past decade. The NPS factory in Wollaston, Northamptonshire, has been producing Goodyear welted footwear since 1881. This is the same factory, the same lasts, and the same machinery that originally produced Dr. Martens from 1960 onward. When the brand moved production to Asia, the factory kept making boots exactly the way they always had. They just changed the name. Every pair of Solovair boots is made entirely in England. Goodyear welted, full-grain leather. Their proprietary soft suspension sole, developed as an improvement on the original air cushion design. Each pair takes 12 to 16 weeks to complete by hand. The classic 8-eye derby boot retails for around 150 to 170 pounds. That is less than the standard Asian-made Dr. Martens 146. Oh, and it is a categorically superior product in every measurable way. Thicker leather, genuine welted construction, resolable by any cobbler. Long-term buyers report 5 years of heavy daily wear with the boots still in strong condition. One reviewer described their pair surviving being run over by an SUV without a scratch. Try that with a cemented boot and see what happens. If you are buying Dr. Martens for the aesthetic, the silhouette, the cultural association, Solovair delivers all of it with the construction quality that Dr. Martens abandoned 20 years ago. This is the original. The other one just kept the name. Number 1. Crockett & Jones, founded in 1879 in Northampton. Still family-owned. Still run by the great-grandson of co-founder Charles Jones. Every single shoe they produce is made at their Northampton factory, where the estimated production capacity is 5,000 pairs per week. Each pair goes through more than 200 individual operations over a period of approximately 8 weeks. Goodyear welted throughout. Full-grain calf leather. Hand-lasted, hand-finished, hand-burnished. Their shoes were chosen for 3 James Bond films, not through a sponsorship deal, but reportedly because the lead actor was already a customer and requested them. That is the kind of endorsement that money cannot buy. At 350 to 550 pounds for the main collection, these are a serious investment. But this is where the price per wear calculation becomes unanswerable. A pair of Crockett & Jones shoes, resoled 3 times over 20 years at around 110 pounds per risole, will cost you roughly 750 to 880 pounds total for 2 decades of daily rotation wear. A 150-pound cemented shoe replaced every 18 months over the same period will cost you 2,000 pounds, and 10 pairs will go to landfill. The more expensive shoe is the cheaper shoe. It has always been that way. Across every brand on this list, one pattern holds. Price does not reflect quality. Price reflects the cost of the story being told around the shoe. You can walk into a department store today and spend £300 on a boot held together with glue that will be in a skip within a year. Or you can spend the same money on a Goodyear welted shoe from a Northampton factory that will still be on your feet when the department store has changed its window display 15 times over. One simple test protects you from 80% of the noise. Turn the shoe over. Look at the sole. If you can see a row of stitches running around the edge where the sole meets the upper, that is a welt. The shoe can be repaired. If you cannot see stitching, or if the stitching is cosmetic and does not penetrate through to the sole, it is cemented. The shoe is disposable. That test takes 5 seconds. It will save you hundreds of pounds over the next decade. Stop paying for the heritage story that was quietly abandoned when the factory moved overseas. Stop funding the warm lighting and the leather chairs in shops that sell glued shoes at welted prices. Turn the shoe over, ask the question, and buy the one that was built to last. Tell us in the comments which brand on this list surprised you most. And be honest, have you already noticed the quality drop, or were you still giving them the benefit of the doubt? If this was useful, share it with someone who is about to spend £200 on a glued shoe because the box had a Union Jack on it. Subscribe so you do not miss the next investigation. We will see you in the next one.